What's up, guys? Welcome back to Raising the Rogers Homestead. Today I'm going to get started on a project. It'll take me a few days to get this done, but just simply because I don't have all the parts and pieces and stuff that I need. But I'm going to get started on it today. I'm going to build a hoop coop style greenhouse. I'll show you the frame real quick. I've already got the frame built. If you've seen any of my other shelters, it's the exact same frame that I normally build. So I'm gonna show you the frame real quick and then get started on it. All right, so we got 16-foot 4x4s, and then in the front, I've got 8x4 posts. I got them cut down in the corners. Got them cut down so they'll sit on there flush, and then I've got a lag bolt run through it with the smooth side on the bottom. So that's what we're working with as far as the frame. Now we're gonna start on the cattle panels. All right, so these are 16-foot cattle panels. What I generally do is inside of the 4x4s, I'll lay a 2x4 down on the ground, and then I'll set those cattle panels on top of it. That just keeps me with some real good even spacing. I don't have to hold it. Generally, these projects I end up doing by myself or with my kids that, I mean, love them to death, but sometimes they're not much help. So once I get it set on there and I feel good about it, your first cattle panel is your trendsetter. So you want to make sure it's as level and as square as it can get with the actual frame itself. Now, this is a DIY project. This is not anything that's going to be perfect, but we can make it as close as we can. So now that I've got that first cattle panel up, got it sitting on my frame, hammer and some barbed staples. You can pick these up anywhere. Tractor Supply, Home Depot, Lowe's. They're just fence staples is all they are, just the big fence staples. And I'll put 3 or 4 of those across the bottom, and then we'll continue on. I just kind of cross them over like that, just so it's got something to sit on and it's also holding it as far as like back and forth. But I'm gonna stick with 3 on this because this is not a animal shelter like some of my other ones, like those, or that one, or that one. This shouldn't have a lot of outside pressure on it because it is a greenhouse, not made for livestock, at least not this one. You can use them for that, but not this one. But you just do that, repeat that 4 times. So set up time lapse and get to it. Got all the cattle panels on there. Now I'm gonna take some 17 gauge wire, just some fence wire or whatever, and I'm gonna wrap it around the top just so that each one are tied together. Now they actually make a thing that you can buy that holds them cattle panels together. They've got like a little screw and nut. It'd be nice to have those, but this is the way I've always done it, so it works fine. So I'm gonna wrap them at the top, maybe down the sides a little bit, and that's just gonna kind of help hold it together because these cattle panels obviously aren't perfect. So this just kind of helps it hold its shape while I'm doing the rest of it. that's got everything all tied up. I think that this is probably one of the most important parts, is actually making sure you've got a good round square, everything's kind of lined up. You want it as if there is just one line going all the way from the front to the back. You can see those are lined up. Everything looks good and even at the top. So that's one of the most important parts. The next part is arguably the most important part. I have kind of a roundabout way of doing this, and I'll explain the best that I can. So you want to pick which side you want to be the front, you know, obviously the far side or this side. So this side that's on this side, closest to me, is going to be the front. Since this is going to be the front, this is where I'm going to take my measurements for my wood. So I want to put 2 uprights. I want to have a door on this side. On the other side is going to look the exact same. There just isn't going to be a door. So getting your measurements and cutting everything exactly the same is the most important. Whenever you are cutting your wood, you don't want to try to cut one or mark one and cut it and then mark the other and cut it. You just want to mark one of them and cut them all the exact same length, and then that way you have a good round structure and it's not cockeyed to one side or the other. I've got a couple of them that I've already messed up, so that's part of it. I built one for our calves not too long ago, and the front of it is like pushed up and the other side's kind of down, and you know, it's fine. It's a calf shelter. It's not that big of a deal, but I want this to be as round as possible because it's going to be one of the things that you see as soon as you pull in our driveway. So I want it as round as possible and try to make it look as good as I can from the front. So I'll explain it the best that I can. So this post is 8 foot long. So I'm going to measure 4 foot, and that should be dead center of this post, which should be dead center of the structure. Now that I got 4 foot measured, I'm going to use my handy dandy plumb bob. It's just a piece of twine and some vice grips because I don't have a plumb bob. You want to find your center marker on your cattle panel, tie it up to the top and see if it needs to sway one way or the other. Like I said, I know it's obviously not professional, but there's my 4 foot mark. My vice grips are hanging pretty much right above it. Like I said, this is a DIY project, so it doesn't have to be perfect. The wind is blowing, so it's going all over the place, but it's close enough for me. I feel good about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my first piece of wood and get it marked. Since this is a mobile structure, I want everything kind of up off the ground in the front and the back. So I'm gonna use this down on the bottom. This is what I'm gonna set my 2x4 on, and then we'll get this marked. Okay, this part might be a little bit confusing, but this is just the way I do it. I'm a confusing person. Okay, so from the very top right here, I'm counting 3 over. 1, 2, 3, okay? This is where I want my 2x4 to sit. I want the center of my 2x4 to sit right here. I'll show you that in a minute, so hang out. I'm gonna put this on the downhill side of that 3rd mark. And the reason why is because if I put it on this side, I mark it and I cut it. Whenever I go to put it back in there, it's gonna pick this side up and it's gonna make it wonky, okay? Put it on the downhill side, mark it, cut it, and then we'll make a little notch in the top, and then that 3rd one will sit right in the top of it. Just trust me, hold on. got them all cut. Another thing that I forgot to mention was whenever I'm building any of these shelters or whatever, I have built them in my building before, which is just a gravel floor. They don't come out near as good. If you can get this on a level surface, they come out much better. So that's the reason why I've got it on the patio and I'm having to go back and forth to cut the wood. Before I put this up, I'll measure down. So you got your corner. I'll measure from that top corner down and I'll measure 2 inches. By the way, this is a 36-degree angle. I don't know why it comes out to that, but that's what it does. So I measured my 2 inches. Now I'm just gonna make a little notch with it. And that right there is what that top one, the third one on the cattle panel, is gonna sit inside of that. All right, guys, it's been a couple of days. It ended up turning off super cold and I wasn't trying to be out here freezing my butt off. So I just got back from Lowe's. The next step is going to be putting some pipe insulation. Let me grab a piece real quick. All right, so the pipe insulation. This is 1/2 inch pipe insulation. It's pre-split, and we'll just put that right along the edge of the cattle panel just so it doesn't cut the plastic. So I almost forgot that I needed this, but this stuff is super cheap. It's like $1.40 for a 6-foot stick. So I'm gonna put these on real quick and then we'll move on to getting the edge pieces put on. All right, we're gonna start on these end pieces. So the way that I want this to land is I want this notch to land in this cross member right here. I want that to be right in the middle. So the way I'm gonna have to do that is I'm gonna have to hold this back. This has got to go in the center like so, but up underneath this stuff and try to hold it all together. Obviously I need both hands for that, so I'm gonna set you guys down. All right, so I got my staple in right there. And that right there is gonna keep all that covered whenever we pull that plastic over top of this. And it's center with this, so it'll be straight up and down. Just gotta do that 3 more times and get the bottom secure to make sure everything's level. Now I'm gonna do some corner braces. Generally what I do is whatever is left over from this upright, I just measure it out 2 foot, cut 245s on it and stick it down here. Now at the bottom, we're still using the spacing of a 2x4 because we want this thing to be able to be moved. I don't want anything dragging on the ground. All right, so this next part, you don't technically have to do this part. I just do it because it gives it a little bit more stability. I've got to put I call it a header beam, but you know, people that frame for a living are probably cringing, but I run one from this side to this side and I leave enough space at the top to turn the 2x4 on its end. So the way that I do that is I'll put a 2x4 up there that's cut to length in between the two. So in between this front part right here, from there to there, is 40.5 inches, and the one at the back is 40.25, maybe a little bit more. So I've got about 1/4 inch over 16 foot that I am not completely round. So I'll take that all day long. just doing the first parts of it right and making sure you got a good round frame before you go to putting any wood on it is key. So like I said, you don't have to do this part, but I do it just for my peace of mind and to give it a little bit more stability. All right, got those two put on each end. Now I'm gonna put my long header beam in the middle and try to tack it down from the top. Like I said, you don't have to do this part, but I just do it for a little bit more stability. All right, so that's pretty much got the frame done. I got the top done. I went ahead and put a couple pieces in the back. I didn't video that because this is gonna be specific to my applications, not anything that you have to do. I'm gonna put a window up here up top, and that next one down is just to have something extra to fasten the plastic to. So I'm gonna start with the plastic. I don't think the piece of plastic I have is long enough to go over the front and the back. That's okay, because I'm probably gonna end up doing the door separately anyway. So we're gonna try to cover the back and obviously the top and stuff and kind of see where everything lands. All right, we got the tarp on. We got the fern strips down the side. I built a little window. I'm not sure how I like that yet, but that's pretty much it for the structure, guys. The back, like I said, you don't have to do the window, but I got it put in there right now. It doesn't have any hinges or anything on it, but it's coming along. It's coming along. I like it so far. I still got to put a door on it, but we're almost there. All right, guys, next day, we ended up running out of daylight. We had to feed and all that good stuff. So the only thing left to do is put the door on. I went ahead and built the door. I'm gonna throw it on real quick and I'll give you a quick walkthrough. All right, got the door on. I think we're in business. Now, I will say the only thing that I really have left, which we can do that later, as of right now, we can just set stuff on the ground. But eventually I am gonna put some shelves in here, kind of suspended from chain, and then that way it can still be moved. But that's pretty much it. All right, so obviously this is the front. This is my door. I put a little cleat on it. Door opens up nicely. It fits really well. Then obviously the inside is significantly warmer in here. And then we put this window in the back. You don't have to do this, but I just got it tied up there with some twine, but that's just to let some air breathe in and out. That right there closes back nice and tight. Overall dimensions, it's 8 foot wide, 16 foot long. We were able to cover the entire thing. Of course, we had to do some in pieces on the front and stuff. I ended up just using like some furring strips and just kind of sandwiching everything, sandwiching the plastic in between the actual frame. Did the same thing there. This right here worked out real nice. I don't feel like that's gonna rip at all. The plastic is pretty tight. We didn't really like crank on it or anything. So this right here is gonna allow us to do a lot more in our bigger garden this year. That's the back of it. Overall, this build, it took me probably 3 solid afternoons of really working on this from about noon till dark. You could probably, if you had a full day, you could probably knock out over half of it. So I would say it's more than a one-day project, but I'm super excited how it turned out. This has probably been one of my favorite builds with these types of shelters, just simply because I had no idea how it was gonna turn out. So it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. But anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed this, please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you could. And until next time, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.